One cold evening, I found myself staring out the window, just people watching, when my gaze landed on Alexandra across the street. Her curtains were half open, and she was bathed in this artsy table lamp light, totally cinematic. Only thing, she wasn't exactly dressed for the occasion. There she was, almost entirely undressed, save for a single piece of underwear that left, well, not much to the imagination. Next morning, as I was leaving my house, guess who I saw heading out the door too? Yep, Alexandra. She caught my eye, and I tried to look anywhere but directly at her, seeing as last night's vision was still fresh in my mind. But she noticed me anyway, and we exchanged an awkward wave. That evening, I was back at my window, habit, I told myself. Completely casual, just checking if she was around. And wouldn't you know it, she was back in her usual spot, the table lamp casting that soft glow on her once more as she lounged with, well, very minimal wardrobe decisions. Thus began our little silent routine, her lounging artfully and my casual glances every now and then. Totally innocent. Weeks of this window dance passed until one day, Alexandra rang my doorbell. In her hand, a pie, a homemade one. She explained she'd just baked it, and I was only too happy to invite her in. She hesitated, saying her kitchen needed a serious scrub down, but I offered my help in exchange for some tea. With a smile, she agreed. Soon enough, we were seated in my dining room, her with tea, me with pie. Delicious pie, by the way. She didn't want any, so I ended up eating the whole thing myself. Afterwards, as I showed her around, she practically gasped when she saw my shiny, barely used oven. With genuine delight, she asked if she could come over sometimes to bake in it, as hers was on its last legs. I readily agreed. As she got ready to leave, I offered to accompany her and lend a hand with her dishes. She was strangely quiet, but gave in. I thought we'd continue chatting, but the mood turned weirdly serious. As soon as the dishes were done, I headed out, unsure what I'd done to make things so awkward. Days passed. I waited, hoped for a message, a knock, something, but every night her window stayed dark. Had I somehow offended her? Maybe she got cold feet about our little arrangement. I couldn't be sure. Then, almost a month later, there she was, standing at my door again, holding yet another pie. I just stepped out of the shower, so I opened the door in a towel, very casual, of course. Alexandra was wearing a white tank top, no bra, and shorts that seemed 2 sizes too small. I tried to keep things friendly as I invited her in, excusing myself to put on some actual clothes. We sat down and opened a bottle of wine. Christmas week deserved some celebration, after all. Hours passed as we talked, moving from the dining room to the living room. Somewhere in the middle of a story about her grandma's chickens, she started sneezing, so I offered her a blanket and made her hot chocolate. By 11 p.m., our words drifted away, and we just sat there in comfortable silence. Eventually, Alexandra drifted off on the sofa, leaving me to curl up on the floor nearby. Sometime near midnight, she muttered something in her sleep, shifting in a way that slipped her tank top off. She lay there, sound asleep, unbothered, while I lay on the floor doing my best not to stare. After a second of internal debate, I gently covered her with the blanket and returned to my spot on the floor. The next morning, as I was half asleep, I thought I heard her whisper something and wrap me in the blanket. When I finally opened my eyes, the front door was closed and she was gone. Later, I learned she'd moved out shortly after. For months, I half expected her to pop up around town or for some mysterious dramatic note to appear. But she was nowhere to be found. I tracked down her number through her landlady, but it was a dead end. Now, each time I walk by a window, I find myself glancing over, hoping for a sign of Alexandra and her enigmatic pies. As I stood by my window once more, scanning the street for any sign of Alexandra, I couldn't help but chuckle at the whimsical nature of it all. The familiar scene unfolded before me, a winter evening bathed in soft light, but this time, instead of longing, I felt a sense of acceptance. While her absence lingered like the scent of baked goods in the air, I realized that sometimes the most intriguing stories come with unanswered questions. With a wry smile, I turned away from the window, determined to whip up my own adventure, even if it meant baking a pie for one. After all, life is too delicious to be lived solely in the shadows of another's light. Thanks for joining me on this delightful escapade. If you enjoyed my encounter with Alexandria, give me a like, subscribe, and let's keep chasing those whimsical moments together. And remember, whether it's love or pie, always leave room for a little more. Until next time.